All right, guys, today we're going to talk about cuffs. To cuff or not to cuff, right? So we got two different trousers here. One has a cuff on the bottom of them. One has a clean bottom, right? Majority of you are going to be interested or at least know of a clean bottom. But I do want to talk about a cuff today because I think it is an interesting element on a trouser that can really kind of change the silhouette of the look. Right? So typically with a cuff, what these cuffs are basically for, outside of kind of stylistic reasons or stylistic details, is basically it just makes the trouser drape really clean, right? So if you look at my trousers currently, the extra fabric on the bottom of the trouser will just allow the trouser to just fall like pin straight all the way down. Right? So that extra weight just makes the crease drape really clean and just kind of situates the trouser really nicely. Without the cuff, obviously you still can get those elements, especially with a heavier fabric, but without, typically it'll just kind of fall a little bit cleaner, or it'll fall a little bit, it won't have as much weight, right? So sometimes what we'll do is we'll actually toss on the bottom of the trouser, we actually toss, these are called a kick guard, but what it does is it actually performs very similarly to what a cuff will do, right? So it just adds a little bit of weight to the bottom of the trouser, so it kind of can perform somewhat like a cuff. In terms of how you would go about wearing this, I often like to say if we're designing a cuff, I want the cuff to be give or take in and around the same size as the waistband, right? Sometimes even a little bit bigger, right? So a 2-inch cuff is kind of like a standard across the board if you're going to do a cuff. With guys that are a little bit more stout, usually we'll kind of narrow that cuff down a little bit. For tuxedos, on the other hand, we usually go with a clean bottom. Also, if you're going to do a casual pant, a clean bottom is going to be a great option too. And these cuffs are actually stitched in, right? So that's something to take into account too. So the cuff will actually stay the exact same size because it's actually stitched into the actual bottom of the trouser. Right, so it'll drape really clean, and you don't have to kind of like fold that back up and kind of press that in every time you want to wear a cuff trouser. Right, so I really like cuff trousers. I think they're really sharp. They definitely feel a bit more old school if you're into that. So consider it if you haven't. That being said, a clean bottom is going to be great, as I mentioned, for tuxedos, for casual wear. Okay, guys, if you have any more questions for me, let me know, and we will talk soon.